All right, so when we are graphing linear relations, I've actually decided to go backwards, just so that we practice first coming up with a linear relation from a graph, and then we'll actually practice inputting values in to then be able to graph. So the first thing is I need to figure out what's the pattern for this graph. Now my first step is I'm going to draw a table of values. Okay, I'm going to start there always. I want to have a table of values for my information. Now, this one, there's no dots or colors. It's just X and Y. This one's X, and this one's Y. So I'm going to look at some dots that are very clear for me to see. So let's start with this -2. When it's X is -2, Y is going to be 7. When X is -1, Y is going to be 5. And when X is 0, Y is going to be 3. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a pattern going. So now, remember, the goal is to figure out how did I get from -2 to 7? How did I get from -1 to 5? How did I get from 0 to 3? So we're going to use our equation, mx plus b. Our first job is to figure out what m is, and m is rise over run. So our rise, remember, is from y. Now our rise is -2, so -2. So we're going down 2 negatives. And our run is +1. +1. So it's going to be 1. -2 divided by 1 is -2. So our m is going to be -2 down here. And then we fill in everything else. And now we continue. Now remember, we want to now plug in values for x and for y from our chart. So why don't we use, let's use 0 and 3. All right. So from here, for x, I'm going to put in a 0. So I'm going to have -2 times x, which is 0, plus b, is going to equal y, which is 3. And now I solve. I can go -2 times 0, which is 0, plus b equals 3. And 0 plus b equals 3. So nothing plus something will give me 3. That means b has to be 3. So now I have my m, I have my b, and together I just plug them into my equation. M is -2, and b is +3. And that would be my pattern for this particular linear relation. Now, obviously, we can also go from the linear equation to the graph. So for this situation, we're given y equals 2x minus 1, and we actually have to go backwards. We have to graph this linear relation. Well, my very first thing is I'm going to make a table of values. I'm going to do that down here. Table of values. Okay, I've got my x, I've got my y, and I'm going to create that first. So now, here's the thing though, I already have the equation, so pretty much I can pick any y and any x I'd like, and I can solve for the other one. So let's start simple, okay? Let's say x equals -1, okay? And I chose that because it's just going to fit right onto my coordinate grid. So if x equals -1, wherever I see the x, I have to plug in a -1. So y is going to be equal to 2 times -1 minus 1. 2 times -1 is -2. -2 minus 1 is -3. So y would be -3. So then my coordinate point, x is -1, and my coordinate is y is going to be -3. So now I find it on my graph. -1 is x here, and -3 is y here, and I connect them. There's my very first point, -1, -3. All right, and I continue to do this. So I can do it next for the next question, y equals 2x minus 1, and let's say x equals 0. We'll go up to the next one. So now I put in a 0 wherever there's an x. So 2 times 0 minus 1. So y is going to be equal to 2 times 0 is 0, minus 1 is minus 1. So my x is 0, my y is -1. So let's graph that coordinate point. X is 0, y is -1. And we'll use the same color. 0, -1. All right, and let's do one more just to complete our graph a little bit more. Let's say y equals 2x minus 1, and x is equal to 1. So wherever we see that x, we're going to put a 1. 2 times 1 minus 1, which is 2 minus 1, which is 1. And so x is 1, y is 1. And we graph that, y1, x1, right there. And then if you notice, what we've created is a linear relation, right? There is a connection and there is a relationship between these values, and that's how we would graph it. And then we have the ability to then make predictions based on the graph itself.